Are you tired of feeling overwhelmed by stress? Do you want to learn a proven framework to understanding stress and building resilience? Then keep watching as you'll learn to understand the transactional stress model and how you can use it to control the stress in your life. I'm Camilla, I'm a psychologist, and I'm on a mission to spread mental health awareness and make better mental well-being available to more people. The model we'll be looking at today is a transactional model of stress and coping by Lazarus and Folkman. We'll look at how to understand the model and how we can use it as a tool to understand and take control of our own stressful situations. In their model, Lazarus and Folkman propose that stress occurs when there's an encounter, or what they call a transaction, between a person and their external environment. The model also tells us that the stress response depends on the person's interpretation of the stressor and their own perceived ability to cope with it. In the model, they call this process of interpreting the situation and our own ability to cope the appraisal. Now, it's important to note the emphasis on interpretation and perception here. So one of the main points to note is that we might see two people facing the exact same stressor, the same situation, but they might have completely different outcomes depending on their appraisals. One person may experience stress as a result of the situation, while the other may not. So when do we experience stress? Essentially, the model tells us that if there's an imbalance between our appraisal of a situation's demand and our appraisal of our own abilities to cope with those demands, that's when we experience a stress response. Now, a really important point here is that the appraisal is not necessarily a conscious process. It often happens automatically in a situation without us even being aware of it. When faced with a situation, we go through two layers of appraisal: a primary appraisal and a secondary appraisal. The primary appraisal refers to our evaluation of a situation. This is where we evaluate the severity of the situation that we find ourselves in. This primary appraisal occurs all the time as we go through our days. Every time we find ourselves in a situation, our brain will subconsciously evaluate if this is a threat to us. The appraisal will result in one of three categories. We can appraise the situation as irrelevant, benign positive, or stressful. If the appraisal is irrelevant or benign positive, we just move on and don't worry about it. However, if we do appraise the situation as stressful, then we further assess if it's a threat or if it's a challenge to us. A threat appraisal is something we find potentially harmful to us. This can either be physical or psychological threats. For example, with situations that could cause us negative emotions also fall into this category. This could be things like loss of pride or status. Challenge appraisals, on the other hand, are situations that we may find beneficial to our well-being. These can be opportunities for growth or personal development. So in short, if a situation is appraised as a threat, we may experience negative emotions and stress. If a situation is appraised as a challenge, we may experience positive emotions and feelings of mastery. Whether we do experience stress or mastery from our primary appraisals depends entirely on our secondary appraisal. Secondary appraisal is where we assess our own abilities to cope with the situation that we found stressful during the primary appraisal. Secondary appraisal can be divided into two main dimensions: the coping potential and control. So these can either be internal in the form of our own coping strategies, our determination, and our resilience, or they can be external, for example, our financial means to cope, or the support from our friends and family. Control appraisal assesses the extent to which we're able to have control over the stressor, if we're able to modify or remove it. The secondary appraisal process is really important in determining our stress response and our overall well-being. If we perceive that we have adequate resources and control over the stressor, then we'll experience low levels of stress and high levels of resilience. If, on the other hand, we perceive that we have limited resources and control to deal with the stressor, then we'll experience higher levels of stress and lower levels of resilience. Now, I said earlier that this appraisal process is usually unconscious and automated. However, knowledge is power, and understanding the process can help us take control of our stress response. This is the founding principle of my business, CogniLead. We're able to lead our own cognition through knowledge and awareness of it. So understanding our primary appraisal can help us learn to reframe our perception of the stressors. Understanding our secondary appraisal can help us identify and utilize our resources for managing stress and maximizing our resilience. The model also introduces a third type of appraisal that can help us take control: the reappraisal. This is where we can bring our awareness and consciousness into play and reevaluate the severity of the situation and our ability to cope with it. What I often see in my clients is a tendency to get trapped in a negative appraisal pattern. If we're feeling stressed, it's easy to get stuck in this feeling of not being able to do things well. And since our appraisals rely heavily on previous experiences, this is where we can get trapped. When we're stressed, we'll see that we more frequently will assess a situation as threatening and will tend to appraise our own coping abilities and resources poorer. Therefore, when we are feeling under pressure, it's really important that we actively and consciously take the time to reappraise the situation that we find stressful. Make sure that you take time to breathe and reconsider both the severity of the situation and your own ability to cope with it. Often we'll see that the conscious reappraisal is much less severe than the initial appraisal that we might have performed during an amygdala hijack. If you're not sure what that is, you can go to this video where I explain exactly what an amygdala hijack is. Reappraisal is a powerful stress management tool which can help you build resilience and improve your overall well-being. By consistently practicing reappraisal, you can adopt a more adaptive and resilient mindset. This can help you turn stressful situations into opportunities for growth and success. If you're struggling with stress in your life, know that you're not alone and that you will make it out on the other side. Keep taking small steps in the right direction. I'll make sure to keep posting videos to help you along on that journey. Make sure to subscribe to not miss out. Thank you for watching, and if you have taken any value from this video at all, please give it a like. I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, take care and bye for now.